Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, just about anything else that grabs our fancy. I am Scott Barker, the editor of Compass, a subscription-based website and newsletter where we report on all these topics and more, and you can find us at CompassKnox.com. I am rejoined today by Compass co-founder, former Compass Points co-host, and I guess returning Compass Points co-host in a way, Jesse Mayshark. Welcome back, Jesse.
Hi, Scott. How's it going?
Better today, I tell you. The flying solo ain't so much fun sometimes. So,
Sure.
For those of you out there who've been missing Jesse, and probably that means all of you, Jesse has been working on his own project. We'll be talking about that in a minute. He's kind of stepped back a little bit from the editorial side of Compass, although he is still very much involved and very much an integral part of the Compass operation, the global operation that we have here.
The Compass cinematic universe.
That's true. That's true. It's kind of like Marvel, you know. It's anyway. The Jesse is going to be back. Virtually every week. There'll be some weeks that maybe not back, but anyway, Jesse, welcome. Thanks for coming back. So,
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Scott. So I've been working on my current project, The Progressive South, which you can all find at theprogressivesouth.org. That's been my main focus this year, and now that I've gotten kind of my feet on the ground with that, I have a feel for my workflow there, and As you know, Scott, I am coming in here to Lord Seth's production emporium every week already to tape that podcast. And now that I'm kind of feeling comfortable with what I'm doing there, I thought, you know what? I can hang around and help out my old buddy Scott and, you know, maybe still engage a little bit in the local conversation here in Knoxville. So on weeks where I'm in town, be happy to, you know, kind of come by and chat. I want to make clear to everybody that Scott is the editor of Compass. If you want to ask anything about Compass coverage, if you're seeking coverage, if you're mad about coverage, Scott's the guy to talk to. I'm just here to kind of like help with the conversation, maybe provide a little color commentary.
On the flip side, if you have a problem with your subscription for any reason whatsoever, Jesse's the guy to call. So
this is true.
If he's going to sick people who are mad about coverage onto me, I'm going to sick people who need help with their subscriptions onto you. So
fair enough.
But anyway, we're just tickled to have. I'm tickled to have Jesse back, and as he mentioned, we are in the opulent studios of Barbarian Productions, and where Lord Seth Barber is diabolically pulling or pushing buttons and turning dials and everything over there. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I am doing okay. Do you have a 4-day old weather forecast?
Sure. It's a beautiful day today. It's been a wet week. I'm not mad at a wet week. We've needed some water, although there's been some localized flooding, which is never any fun. But it's a beautiful Friday. I'll say that.
I'll agree there. Anyway, and we'll go now.
And don't email me with any questions about anything Compass related, because I got nothing. I'll just duck and cover for the sicking people on people. That's your guys' realm, not mine.
Jesse, we should have just said at the outset, just send everything to Seth and he'll take care of it. As I said, Jesse, as Jesse mentioned, he's working on the Progressive South. There was Leslie Bateman of Inside of Knoxville had a very good in-depth interview with you that ran last week.
Yeah, very kind of Leslie. Thanks for that write-up, Leslie.
Yeah, she's done more than we have, actually. So But no, that was really good. One thing I'm mad about with Leslie is she did come into the studios and take photos of you and Seth at work, and kind of blows my story about all the opulence and the gold and marble of the studio here. Either that, or I think what Seth did is he just used he took everything out.
That was at my request. I wanted to give it. I'm running sort of a scrappy DIY operation with the Progressive South, and I asked Seth if he could sort of scuff the place up a little bit for those photos. But yes, if you want to see what Barbarian Production Studios look like, there are some photos there on the Inside of Knoxville website. You can see Seth hard at work.
Absolutely. So.
I was excited. You had mentioned that it was going to happen at some point, and then it did, and I just happened to have a fresh haircut, which I was proud of the back of my head looking as clean as possible for the one photo that
it is your best side.
Thank you.
Well, okay. Well, Jesse, give us a little update about how things are going with the Progressive South and the podcast and all that.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. I've spent this year kind of building it up and taking a lot of road trips, and in some cases even flying places to talk to people. And again, people can find all of this at the website, theprogressivesouth.org. Right now, I'm focusing on producing a weekly podcast called Headlights, Voices from the Progressive South. And then over the course of the next year or so, the plan is to kind of build out the website, include some more features and functionality there, and really kind of building toward being a bit of a resource hub, I guess, for progressive news, information, and resources across the South. And, coming from a progressive point of view, which obviously I am, hence the name, it's been very interesting to go to, I've been to Atlanta, Richmond, Nashville, Miami, Alabama, Mississippi, New Orleans, talking to people working in a variety of different areas, from environmental issues to immigration issues to local organizing. And, I guess what I personally have found both interesting and heartening about all of that is that there are lots of people out there all across the South working on all of those issues and more. Of course, the current political environment at both our state levels, for the most part in the South, and at the federal level, obviously, is challenging for people working on progressive issues. But people are out there, just kind of buckling down and doing it. And if that is something that interests you, you can definitely check us out. My next reporting trip is planned for October. I'm going to be going down to Austin, talking to some folks in Texas, and then those episodes will be airing in the weeks after that. So, that's kind of where it's at right now.
Well, all right. Well, that sounds great. You need to listen to that podcast. It's really even if you're conservative and you're not of the progressive bent, it's fascinating. You get to find out what the other side is.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It can be opposition research.
Opposition research. So you guys need to check it out. Once again, that's progressivesouth.org. It's a nonprofit. So if you are conservative, you're not, there's not a profit motive there. It's a nonprofit. So,
right. You're not giving me money unless you want to.
Yeah, although you would welcome any donations.
Absolutely.
Well, okay. Well, we're going to turn our attention now to what happened last week in Knoxville and Knox County. In the city of Knoxville, which is going to be the bulk of today's report. Early voting continued. We reached the halfway point of early voting. Spoiler alert: it's terrible. It's really pathetic. The number of the low number of people who are going out to the polls. But we'll dive into those numbers. It's just very shallow, and we'll have to make sure we don't hit our head and break our neck on the bottom. when we dive into it. There was big news in East Knoxville. Two major initiatives that the city of Knoxville is undertaking to do with Chilhowie Park. One is the old Midway property, which is on the south side of Magnolia Avenue. Is they are proposing to sell that to the Emerald Youth Foundation for a youth sports, education, health, activities complex. They are very similar to one in They have it in Lonsdale, and then also in the main part of Chilhowie Park, the Kincannon administration is planning to lease the Jacob building, the entire space, to the Muse, the children's science museum that's on the other side of Chilhowie Park, and tucked on the western side of the park. The Muse would be able to quintuple the amount of space it has. Would take over the entire building and invest about $30 million into it. We'll talk about that too. We will lead off though on the more I don't know about salacious, but the certainly an interesting development with the in Knox County. We reported last week that Phil Ballard, the property assessor, was indicted and arrested for misuse of county vehicles. This week, the other shoe dropped. Jason Dobbins, who is the former director of operations for the trustee's office, was indicted as well. His primary transgression, according to the state, according to the comptroller's office, was profiting off insider information on land deals. And the report, the comptroller's office issued their report actually last Friday, after we had already recorded last week's episode, and it also details Ballard's alleged misdeeds. It goes into other aspects of the trustee's office, and Trustee Justin Biggs, who was a target of the investigation, avoided getting indicted. Anyway, that's kind of the overall picture. One of the things that was very interesting was this Dobbins case. Dobbins allegedly took insider information on two properties that were coming up and eligible for a tax sale. In other words, they were way behind on their property taxes. He and a partner went in and bought the properties before a tax sale. They made they only paid about $3,700 for the properties. Nice deals there. They're a couple of wooded lots off of Stone Road in South Knoxville, if you know where that is. And then they turned around and sold them for $67,000. So they made a nice tidy $63,000 profit on that transaction. Now Dobbins has said that it's funny. Dobbins apparently told the comptroller's office, at least according to the report, that he didn't call the owners. He didn't put his money up, and all this. Of course, that on the flip side, that kind of is okay. Yeah, if your partner in this just gave you this profit off of it, then that's probably an impermissible gift that you still benefited from your insider information, apparently. But his attorney is saying he's going to be fighting that. One other aspect, and this is something I didn't realize that people did, although if I'd put any thought into it, my mind was bent this way, I would have known. he and his partner also did wholesaling, and that is where you sign a contract to buy a piece of property. Say I'll sign a contract with Seth here to buy these opulent studios here for an exorbitant amount of money. I sign a contract with him. I don't give him any money. I don't buy it. I just get the contract on it. And then I turn around and sell it to Jesse for a profit. Even if it's just $2,000-$3,000, I've done nothing but move paperwork and make a profit off of it. The allegation is that he made about $38,000 through several transactions doing that. So land deal was land transactions were very, very good for Dobbins.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's always dangerous to do math on the fly, but I just did a little calculation, and it sounds like they maybe made about a 1,700% profit on that land deal. That's pretty good.
That is a good return on investment.
Yeah.
So, as I said, though, his attorney said that he will plead not guilty, that he is going to be fighting the charges, that he, obviously is innocent until proved guilty, and he is, and so until and unless.
Yeah, I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty, but the land sales are a matter of record. Like you can look those properties up, and you can see all of these numbers that Scott.
Yes, that is true. Yes, those are facts, and Dobbins doesn't dispute those. So Dobbins worked in the trustee's office. Must say that back in April, Trustee Justin Biggs fired him when he at least publicly found out that this was going on.
I think the way that story, because I think it was the News Sentinel who first wrote about this, and I believe the timeline there was the News Sentinel asked questions about it, and then Dobbins got fired.
Yes, I believe that is correct. So, and yes, the News Sentinel did a lot of really good reporting on that. Anyway, Biggs fired him, but the Comptroller's report does go into Biggs's activities and other activities in the trustee's office, where one avenue was Biggs's use of his county vehicle, a county vehicle, and his travel to Nashville, travel expenses there. Biggs takes a travel allowance, which you're allowed to do. You take a travel allowance, and that's supposed to offset the cost of you using your personal vehicle. Now, if you use a personal vehicle and you take that travel allowance, you are not supposed to use a county vehicle. It is to use your personal vehicle for county business. On several occasions, Biggs took a county vehicle on official trips to Nashville, and that's the only thing they've documented. Now, one thing is the vehicle that he took apparently doesn't have GPS, so they that's what they know of is the trips to Nashville, and stayed in very nice accommodations, far in excess of the amount of money that the county deems appropriate. They had the Comptroller's report included one invoice from Renaissance Nashville Hotel. The invoice was for $584 a night. Pretty steep. Which is exactly $300 more than Knox County allows. So now that makes you go, oh, well, then he stole that much money from Knox County. Not so fast. And this is why one of the reasons I think he probably didn't get indicted. Grand jury testimony and deliberations are secret. We don't know for sure. But first of all, the travel use was an official use of the county vehicle, and can kind of go, well, they might have given him a little bit of a pass on that. And then the thing with the hotels is you can stay in hotels if you're a Knox County employee. that charge more than the county limit, but you're supposed to have documentation about why you have to stay there. Why do you go to the Renaissance Nashville instead of the Super 8 on Nolensville Road? And so there was no documentation. So the comptroller's office slammed them for that. Now the comptroller's office, their chief investigator was the person who presented evidence to the grand jury. But the grand jury apparently thought that that evidence did not rise to the level of probable cause that he committed crimes, which is what the grand jury is supposed to do.
Because policy violations of county policy are not necessarily in and of themselves criminal.
That is correct. So they did not indict him. One of the things, though, there were other things that came up that were really eyebrow raising in his office. One of the things is the personal use of county vehicles. Now, this is one of the things that the News Channel reported as well, and we'd reported it too, is that Biggs had bought a whole bunch of these really fancy big old pickup trucks. He'd actually leased them for much higher amounts than the county normally does for his employees, and they a lot of those employees used them for personal use. The comptroller's office determined that those vehicles were used for personal use 43% of the time. Just about half the time they were on the road, it was for personal use. Either they were running errands, going to lunch, running to, commuting to and from home, those kinds of things. Almost half the time they were doing that, and which they're obviously not supposed to be doing with a county vehicle unless there is a work reason for doing that. One of the things they did, and this is something that apparently is a pretty popular thing among county people who have county vehicles who use them improperly. They removed, on occasions, would remove the decal that is usually on the door of the vehicle, so that people in the general public would not be able to identify those vehicles as being county vehicles. Which means when, if they went to Home Depot or they went to a drinking establishment, or they went to wherever they went that might raise eyebrows, you wouldn't know if you were in the member of the public because those stickers weren't on there.
Right, and the thing is, the only reason that you take that off is if you are not conducting county business.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
and these vehicles are county owned and are only supposed to be used for county business. So it doesn't seem like there would be a really good reason ever to need to remove that.
Yes, that is what the comptroller said. Although none of the employees are going to be facing criminal charges or anything. Those were, again, the comptroller said, those vehicles need to be marked. You can't do that. That is also something that to kind of switch over back to the Phil Ballard in the property assessor's office. One of the things that they have Ballard on tape doing, they figured this out by doing video, by pulling the video of vehicles entering and leaving the city county building parking garage, and Ballard apparently did the same thing. There were times he would go out without the decal on his vehicle. The report does go into more details about Ballard. He too used a county vehicle in addition to receiving his travel allowance, which was $7,600 a year. one of the key differences in what I think one of the reasons that Ballard was indicted and Biggs wasn't is that he used the county vehicle in Knox County, and apparently for personal use as well. From September 2024 to January 2025, he was using that county. He used that county vehicle about 150 times. This wasn't a thing where my personal vehicle is about to run out of gas and I don't have I don't have time to go to the store and fill it up on my way out, so I'll just take the county vehicle. He wasn't anything like that apparently, but he was 150 times. That's
yeah. I mean, that's again, I'm not going to do the math here, but that's almost every day during that stretch.
Yes, it was quite a bit of the time. So now, one thing that that Ballard and Biggs have both done is they have both reimbursed the county for the expenses that they estimate they incurred. Ballard, it was about $2,800, a little bit less than that. It was Biggs, I believe it was $3,500 that he paid. Of course, that doesn't matter to prosecutors, doesn't matter to the grand jury, doesn't matter about that sort of thing. And Ballard, one of the things that the comptroller's report emphasized is that Ballard knew that he was not supposed to be double dipping there, and so anyway,
Ballard has had that job before. You would think he knows all these things.
Yes, Ballard has been the property assessor. This is his the end of his third term, so he's got one more shot at it. So he and John Whitehead have pretty much been the property assessors of record the entire century.
Yep.
So which is 25 years old. Wow,
yeah.
We're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. Anyway, that aside, we obviously will be following the criminal cases against Dobbins and Ballard as they move forward. Undoubtedly, there will be some changes in policy about how they operate. One of the things is, though, these are independent offices. I mean, you can't. They're independent elected offices. They answer to no one outside of what they always like to say is, "Oh, we're answerable to the voters every 4 years." Yes, but no one can reprimand them. Nobody can.
County Commission can't remove them from
can't
office.
Be removed. County Commission can't do it. Glenn Jacobs can't do it. It's just they are truly independent, and the things like this investigation can act as deterrents. Now there were some other. They looked at other county offices as well. There were a few minor things they found. Some vehicle use. One person in the mayor's office, a couple of people in the county clerk's office. Personal use things. None of them arose to the level of criminal activity. Of course, these were policy violations. So, but the scrutiny that has brought is one of those things that the public has to rely on to help make sure that these people who hold these elective offices follow the rules, follow the law. So,
well, and I think it's just worth putting it in the context, especially with the trustee's office. The Knox County trustee's office has just been an almost nonstop source of these kinds of violations. I mean, I think the one exception, Biggs has been in office now for a couple of years. He came in after Ed Schaus, who served 2 terms. During Ed Schaus's 2 terms as trustee, there were no scandals, no criminal investigations, no indictments. But Schaus is the only person who's held that office in the last 30 years who did not either themselves or their employees end up in some kind of legal trouble. The two trustees before Schaus were both indicted for various things. Now,
Chad Tyndall too. So.
Right. Yes. And people in their offices.
And that was John Duncan III. And this goes back so far. I almost can't remember the the last.
I'm blanking on the previous.
Anyway, don't want to get it wrong.
Oh, Mike Lowe.
Lowe, yes.
Right, there you go.
I was sitting there going, was it Mike Lowe? Was it Mike Lowe? It was Mike Lowe, yeah.
Yeah, right. So there is a history in that office.
So many trustees have been indicted that we can't remember
We
them all.
lose track of them. And, when Biggs came into that office, I remember that because Biggs didn't come in with a tremendous amount of experience there. He'd basically been on county commission, and that was all of his real background to taking that position. And there were a lot of jokes about, how long will it be before somebody in Justin's office gets in trouble? And of course, so Biggs has escaped criminal prosecution here, but that doesn't mean that he's going to escape some level of accountability for all of this, because of course what we saw happen as soon as any of this investigation was reported back earlier in the year, Nick McBride, who's the current Register of Deeds, who is term limited, immediately came forth and said, I'm running for trustee next year.
Yes.
And he is challenging Biggs in the Republican primary next year. And even without an indictment to hang around Biggs's neck, the fact that somebody who was a senior person in his department now faces prosecution, and that Biggs himself, did undergo investigation, has had to make some restitution and so forth. I'm sure that is going to be a focus of McBride's campaign. And so, we'll see what happens there. But one thing that always strikes me, Scott, with especially the kind of corruption that we tend to see in local government, these things are all so small. It's all so penny ante. The stuff that John Duncan III got nailed on, I think it was $3,000 bonuses that were improperly awarded. It's these tiny amounts of money. Yeah. These offices pay a lot. I forget what Biggs's annual salary is right now, but it's substantial. He's making well into six figures. And he has now jeopardized his own political future and his ability to win re-election and serve another 4 terms at that salary for, what really amounts to peanuts. And that's the thing that I always say to people when they're running for a local office. It's just don't, take this stuff seriously, because the stuff that people end up getting in trouble for is almost always this small scale stuff that they're thinking, oh well, it doesn't really matter, nobody really cares, but they do, and it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few $1,000s here. I mean, even Dobbins, who is the one who benefited the most, his real estate deals combined were about $100,000. Which is nothing to sneeze at, of course, and was one of the reasons that he was indicted. But that's the profit he made off of his
right, and that part wasn't even actually county
that's just
funds.
A little bit, and that's just a little bit more. Yeah, and
but that wasn't taking tax dollars. That was, I guess theoretically it was taking potential tax dollars if it had been sold in the correct format, but it wasn't taking tax dollars away from collections,
revenues.
Right?
And but still, when you get right down to it, it was. I think he made close to $100,000 a year anyway. I mean, It wasn't like
he's jeopardized his career, put himself in
for 1 year's pay.
Prosecuted. Yeah, I know. So, just use your heads, people.
Well, moving away from criminal activity and close to criminal activity, we'll look at 2 big developments in East Knoxville that the city is undertaking. Possibly because both of these need to be approved by Knoxville City Council, and that is the Muse moving into the Jacob Building in Chilhowie Park, and then the Emerald Youth Foundation buying the Midway area of Chilhowie Park, the old Midway area. That's now practically unused whenever other than as a staging area for the fair. But anyway, first we'll talk about the Muse. That was the first thing that was announced this week. Last week they did have a formal announcement there at the Muse facility, which is about a 10,000 square foot facility over on the edge of Chilhowie Park. A lot of people may not even notice it's there when they go to Chilhowie Park or they visit the zoo there. It's a very small building as public buildings go. But the plan now is for the Muse to move into the Jacob building and spend upwards of $50 million turning that into a state-of-the-art science museum. If the phrase state-of-the-art science museum sounds familiar, that is what Clayton Homes founder and philanthropist Jim Clayton had proposed for the safety building site in East Knoxville next to the Civic Auditorium and Coliseum. That has fallen through, of course, as we'd reported. But Clayton has instead of building one himself, is going to donate $25 million to the Muse, to Muse Knoxville. Everybody calls it the Muse. The technical name is Muse Knoxville. But he is going to be donating $25 million to Muse Knoxville for the project, and it was really, once they had that money in hand, they could go ahead and finish up negotiations with the city about doing this. The terms of the deal is they are going to lease the space for $1 a year for 20 years once it's built out. And they're going to be paying for the build out, and then they'll have an opportunity to extend that. So it's a long term thing where they're, as I said, they're going to only be paying the token $1 a year, but they are going to be investing. Their fundraising goal for the project is $50 million, so they're a little bit more than halfway there. They've got Clayton's $25 million gift. Then they also have a $1 million gift from the Boyd Foundation. So they have a good head start on that. They seem to be, they are very excited. The administration is good with this. Now, the Jacob building is relatively underutilized. It's most people associate it with exhibitions at the fair, at Tennessee Valley Fair, which is every September. I believe it's September 5th. I believe it begins this year. It's coming up anyway. The Tennessee Valley Fair has been there for years and years and years and years and years. And decades,
it just celebrated its 100th anniversary not too long ago.
Yeah. So and the Jacob building, has been a major venue for them. There were some reports that they were shocked by this development, which I find hard to believe because
this has been talked about as a possibility for a good long while.
Well, it's actually in the Chilhowie Park master plan that was developed in the late teens. I believe it was 2019. It came out. The mention of the Muse as possibly moving into the Jacob building is included in that. After Clayton pulled back from the his project over by the Civic Auditorium and Coliseum, built up about the possibility of the Muse doing that, because Clayton had been a backer of the Muse. He'd been a supporter of the Muse for years and years before.
Yeah, there was a whole discussion for quite a while that the Muse kind of was the original idea to be the new science museum. And, the Muse had moved into and taken over the old Discovery Center site at Chilhowie Park, which is where they're based now. And then at a certain point, for various reasons, various rich guy reasons, who knows, Clayton drifted away from the Muse and decided, no, I want to go out and do something different. And that's where the proposed project at the safety building site came from. And so him coming back now and saying, no, we're going to do this with the Muse at Chilhowie Park is a little bit of coming full circle to what was being discussed like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, it's especially in the last few months, it was discussed quite a bit. Of course, Muse Knoxville did not pull the trigger until they had secured that pledge from Clayton, because even if even with the Boyd Foundation donation, it's that was only $1 million. I mean, you say only $1 million. I'm pretty cavalier about that, but it's only $1 million. It's a $50 million project. So the Clayton gift is absolutely essential to this project.
And that's still a lot less than the $150 million that he was talking about spending at the safety building.
Yeah, site. Yeah, it's a bargain for the Clayton Foundation, that's for sure. Anyway, so this is the proposal now. Which is one of the things that the Kincannon administration has consistently said is, the Jacob building is basically, it's used year round, but sporadically, except for the 10 days of the fair. Other than that, I mean, there are events that'll go in. There are gun shows that'll go in there. And
I think they got rid of the gun shows.
That's true.
Right? They stopped doing those. But they have occasional things, but on
remote area medical still
will
use that when they come in and for their free clinics. There are some other shows that go on there, but for the most part, it is not utilized except for those 10 days.
Yeah, on an average weekend, if you drive by there, you typically won't see activity.
Yeah, and that, of course, leaves Chilhowie Park with a big empty parking lot there. But this is a way for there to be year-round activity in the Jacob building, and that is the big selling point, one of the big selling points there. Of course, for the Muse, it's going to be, they're going from a 10,000 square foot building to a 57,000 square foot building, and there's a lot more space for them. Now, all of this is contingent upon approval by the Knoxville City Council. This is, there is a lot of concern, I think, or at least speculation about the future of the fair. Now, it's got to be said that all of their contracts, including the ones with the fair, will be, they say they will continue to honor them. So if City Council approves this on Tuesday night, doesn't mean that that there's not going to be a fair in September. The fair is going on no matter what in September, but the contract, I believe, runs through the end of 2026, and after that is when the Muse would be able to take over. They're going to be honoring all of the contracts they have with people who are going to be using the Jacob building, or at least have contracts to use the Jacob building currently. But that will go to City Council on Tuesday. Also going to City Council on Tuesday is going to be the proposal to sell the old Midway of Chilhowie Park to the Emerald Youth Foundation. Now, that will go for a little more than $1 a year. That is the foundation. The negotiated price is close to $1 million, a little bit over $900,000. The Emerald Youth would buy that property. It's about a 12-acre parcel. Best I can figure, there's actually a couple of parcels and several parcels you kind of fit together there, right across from the from the main part of Chilhowie Park. Again, underutilized. The only time it's ever used is as a staging area for the fair. So about 2 weeks, a little bit before and a little bit after the fair, and all through the fair. That's when the fair has their staging area. So that's going to have to, long term, they're going to have to figure out what to do about a staging area as well, unless the fair moves. Now, there's been talk about the fair moving out of Chilhowie Park as well. But in fact, they have been looking, I don't know how seriously, with the University of Tennessee and Knox County for property outside the city to return it to its agricultural roots, so to speak, and keep it in Knox County. But so the future of the fair is a little bit in flux anyway. But the future of this site would be a youth sports and activities center. This is very similar to one that is in Lonsdale, the Haslam Sansom ministry complex that Emerald Youth Foundation runs there. Be bigger, more ball fields essentially than at the one in Lonsdale. It is they have 3 to 4 sports fields at this site, plus a building with a couple of gyms, workout center, education center, community space, and a wellness center. That's a big part of it that they look at East Knoxville as being a healthcare desert, and there will be a health clinic / wellness center in that facility should it be built, and with the caveat that if they don't have to keep it if a one gets built right outside in the Burlington proper area, and actually all of the medical centers are talking about doing such a thing. So they want to address the healthcare desert that is East Knoxville. I talked to Steve Diggs, who's the executive director of the of Emerald Youth Foundation, about what this means. They will be able to serve a lot more kids by doing this. They estimate that they serve about 15% of the kids in Knoxville now, and that'd go up to 20-25% if this opens up. Provides more options for kids, especially those in East Knoxville, to do that. And as with the facility in Lonsdale, and I kept asking about that because that's the comparable thing. That the Lonsdale facility serves about 1,000 kids a year, a little bit more, actually more than that, because some of the programs are Emerald Youth Foundation programs, but they also let other groups use the facility. There are football camps that are held there on the fields. There are other things. The Lonsdale Homecoming is part of that, is there at the facility in Lonsdale. So it is while it is primarily there for Emerald Youth and their programs, it is also available for other community organizations to use. And this represents a $20 to $30 million investment in this. So combined with the Muse, we're talking $80 million, $70 to $80 million of investment in just one little spot that in basically Burlington, the Chilhowie Park area, and a lot of that now one of the things is, like I said, the sale price has been negotiated to a little bit over $90,000. Half of that or so, roughly, without boring you with down to the dollars and cents, the pennies, roughly half of that will go to infrastructure improvements. they need new stormwater infrastructure there because of the use of the future use of the property, and they're also going to have to do environmental assessments. Now, Emerald Youth is going to be doing those. The city will be reimbursing them for up to that amount. The other half is going to be dedicated to funding infill housing projects in the area around primarily Burlington, but the radius around the project will be about a mile and a half, which basically encompasses most of East Knoxville, and so that's going to be a housing component that is going to be funded in part by the sale and probably affordable housing, because of a lot of that is built in infill housing. So,
and I just want to jump in because you said a little over 90,000, but I think you mean 900,000.
I do mean 900,000.
Because I was going to say half of $90,000 is not going to build a lot of housing.
It's not going to build a lot of houses, but about 450,000 will, and using the, you don't know exactly until these things happen, but the city likes to say that they, every dollar they spend generates $15 to $16 from the private sector. Because what they do is they help the private sector build these things. They don't just take that money and build it pay cash and build it themselves. It's used to help finance private sector projects. So that could mean millions of dollars in housing that could be built in the area, and it is specific to the area around Chilhowie Park. It'd be primarily Burlington, but also of course the neighborhood beyond Chilhowie Park. Again, this is something that would have to be approved by City Council on Tuesday. Both of these would. Now, this is something too that the and one of the things that, first of all, before I go into this, one of the things that is really little known, really, that they've been doing it is the public outreach that Emerald Youth has done, because they've been talking about doing this for a few years too. They engaged the Burlington Business District Association and other organizations and people in the area. They formed a committee led by Reverend Harold Middlebrook, that was consisted of several very prominent Burlington and other East Knoxville folk, and they had meetings with hundreds of residents in the area to kind of shape what this project would end up being. And so there has been a lot of public input from the people that would be most affected by the project. Obviously they didn't go out to West Hills and talk to people out there. They did talk to the people that would be primarily affected. So there is that. And one of the things that the administration is really pushing is Mayor Kincannon is really focused on East Knoxville redevelopment in this her second term, and that is they've been saying that over and over. They got the stadium at one end of Magnolia Avenue that is has opened this summer, this spring. There's a redevelopment area along the corridor where there's already some work going on. There are apartments going in. There's a River and Rail Theater is going to be there, renovating a building. There's an event center that Phil Lawson's building in there, at least renovating an old church building there, and then this at Chilhowie Park and Burlington. The city's also investing in streetscapes in Burlington, new fire hall. It's all part of this effort to invest in an area that is underinvested. And that's one of the reasons that the administration is so keen on this. And the council member who represents the 6th District, East Knoxville, as Gwen McKenzie, and she has been involved in these projects and is very, very supportive. And, of course, as you well know, that the support of the district representative goes a long way on council.
Yeah, I will say that I have seen, maybe predictably, on social media a certain amount of blowback from some corners of the community to these plans, particularly, I think, people who live in Park Ridge, which, of course, has a very active neighborhood association and often expresses a lot of interest and opinions about kind of everything that happens over there. I've definitely seen some questions raised. I know at-large councilwoman Amelia Parker does not seem super well-disposed toward a lot of this, and she's raised questions about it. So I think probably you anticipate seeing some of those voices and some of that discussion at council on Tuesday, right?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things the Park Ridge community is, which of course you got to remember, Park Ridge community is on the other end of Magnolia Avenue from where this is. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be interested because they're citizens of the city of Knoxville. I'm interested, not just because I'm a journalist. So, but the outreach that was done was primarily in the Burlington area where people are most affected by it. One of the objections that you heard was, it's city park property being sold, and that's true in a way. First of all, technically, Chilhowie Park, despite its name, is not a city park. It's not managed as a park. It's an event venue. Although they want to make it more of a park, but this portion of it is not used. It is not open to the public. It is fenced off now. It is not used. It is not programmed.
And that's been true for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it did used to be used as the Midway during the fair, but that's been decades. I remember going to some concerts there in the late 1990s, but again, that's been decades. I mean, now, I suppose people could argue that, well, it's only unused because the city's not using it, which is true.
Yeah.
But there hasn't, and, it is just kind of, it's separate from Chilhowie Park. It's across Magnolia Avenue. Of course, it does have a tunnel going under.
Yeah. There's a neat little tunnel underneath Magnolia there.
I had the pleasure of there was a Chinese Asian Lantern Festival.
That's
or
right.
something
They
like
had
that.
the Lantern Festival.
That was a really neat thing, and it was on that side.
Yep.
Got to park in Chilhowie Park and then go under the tunnel there. It was good.
Yep.
Good time.
It has been available to people to rent for, events and so forth, but kind of like the Jacob Building, it's not used much. It's used some, but it's not used much. It mostly just sits there, like you say.
Yeah, and so, it is the sale of park property. Now, it is a violation of city ordinance to sell park property for housing, but this does not include housing in the property that's being sold. As I've mentioned, the infill housing that the sale proceeds would go toward is outside, would be outside of this property. This property itself would not have housing, and the city couldn't sell it for housing anyway. So that's not a component of it. I know one thing that Councilwoman Parker posted. She wanted on both these projects. I think a little upset that she wasn't invited to the Muse announcement. I was there. The only council member who was there was Gwen McKenzie. The other at-large council members weren't invited either. And Parker is an at-large council member. She did not think that she wanted to have more public engagement on the Emerald Youth thing. In fact, wanted to have a public meeting over the weekend, but nobody from the Emerald Youth side apparently wanted to participate in that because they've already talked about 500. they've already had their public engagement, I guess, is the best way to put that. But Tuesday night, if you either attend or want to watch the city council meeting on Knoxville Community Media. Get your popcorn, settle in for a while. You might want to take, eat a chocolate-covered espresso bean or two before it begins, because it probably will be long. It probably will be a lot of discussion, and because we are talking about, once you sell public property or do a long-term lease on a public building, there's no going back. You got to move forward. You can't. One of the things was the deal with the Clayton Science Museum and at the former safety building site was, they basically gave Clayton that property, but they're taking it back because he didn't build it. Well, this is different. These are different animals here with Chilhowie Park. So, if you watch the city council meeting or go to the city council meeting, just make sure you know that you'll be investing some time.
Yep.
And next, last for what we're going to talk about that happened last week. Early voting continued. In fact, we hit the midway point of early voting, and turnout is absolutely anemic. The election commission conveniently sent out information about the turnout. It is really low compared to previous years. It's 17% off of what it was in 2021, which is the last time these 5 council seats were on the ballot. They've only 2,002 people had voted, and this was Wednesday. The midpoint was last Wednesday. Only 2,002 people had voted in person at that point.
That's across 5 different seats.
5 seats, 5 districts, and these are early voting locations, so they're convenient all over the city. You don't have to go. If you live in South Knoxville, you don't have to go to the one in South Knoxville. If you work in West Knoxville, you can go to downtown West and vote. There's no, they try to make it as convenient as possible. Turnout has been really low. They also conveniently break it down by district, which is really interesting. The 2nd district and the 4th district traditionally have higher turnout than the others. Anyway, the 2nd district is West Knoxville. The 4th district is North Knoxville, east of Broadway, and North Knoxville and Fountain City, east of Broadway over to the old Easttown Mall area, and swings down into Chilhowie, to Holston Hills, and Chilhowie Hills, but down into Holston Hills. They again are leading the pack in early voting, which is interesting because those are the 2 races that only have 2 candidates. Both candidates are assured of going on to the general election. So while I would never, ever, ever tell someone to sit out an election, I think that it's your right and your privilege to vote, and you should take advantage of that every chance you get. If you're going to skip voting, and you live in those 2 districts, this is the year to do it because you'll have a chance to vote for between the same 2 candidates in November.
Right. In the 2nd and 4th district, you're basically voting for who you want to feel happier on primary election night, but it's not going to affect anything about who actually ends up winning that seat.
But between those 2 districts, there are 5 district seats that are up this time. Between those 2, they have well over half of those 1,200 or so votes have been cast so far. The one with the lowest turnout is District 1, which is South Knoxville, and there are 4 candidates there. Only 379 people voted in the first 7 days of early voting there. So it's like 50 a day. It's a very, very, very low turnout there. Obviously the Election Commission kind of puts this out, hoping that people will, see this and respond and vote. But they're on a pace this year. The city of Knoxville is on a pace to have the lowest turnout since 2017. So,
which is especially interesting because this is a year when these seats are all open.
Yeah,
there are no incumbents running. Like, you most often expect to see your lowest turnout in years where you've got an incumbent running for re-election. Sometimes they don't even have opposition. But this year, these are all open seats, and there's a bunch of candidates running in at least 3 of the races, like you said. And so this would, like, if you're ever going to see, higher turnout for city council races, you would think it would be during these cycles where there are no incumbents running.
Yeah. Well, of course, they're obviously the highest turnouts when the mayor's on the ballot, which is 2 years ago and 6 years ago. And that cycle, you have 1 district race and 3 at-large seats, as well as the judge. But with these seats, yes, you would think that is the time, because when years that you have an incumbent running for re-election, often they just have 1 opponent. Sometimes they don't have any. Sometimes they're unopposed. So this is odd too, because the 4 years ago when these seats were up, you had incumbents. And you had higher turnout, and so we have a friend who takes credit for that, but
yes. Probably not unreasonably.
No, but
Scott's referring to local conservative consultant Eric Wyatter, who ran a slate of conservative candidates for city council against those incumbents 4 years ago. Brought some money to bear on those races, and because there was a perception that they were competitive, I do think that drove turnout up a bit.
Oh, I agree.
None of Wyatter's candidates won. They all lost by about 10 percentage points, but I think he legitimately could take some credit for boosting turnout that year. And this year, there are some more conservative candidates running, but the county Republican Party is not explicitly running a whole sort of ticket like they did 4 years ago.
But Wyatter's working on 4 campaigns.
He is, yeah.
So it's
he's still involved.
He's still very much involved. Anyway, early voting, and this kind of will help us segue into the stuff we're going to be covering next week. Early voting ends next week, next Thursday, so you have until then to vote early in the election. Then election day is going to be on the 26th. But early voting in 6 different locations across the city. And so you can go to knoxvotes.org and see where those locations are, what the hours are, and other information. Look at a sample ballot. Although if you vote, there's only going to be one. If you're in one of those 5 districts where the election's being held, the only seat that you will see on the ballot is the one for your district. You won't see anything else. So it's really quick, in and out. I mean, you've got 1 seat to vote for. But early voting, like I said, ends Thursday. It'll be interesting to see if it picks up. Usually, early voting picks up a little bit the last couple of days of the period. So we will see how that plays out. That is one of the big civic events of the week. We've also got, actually it's going to be pretty busy. We've got county commission meeting on Monday. They're going to, at 3:00, they have an agenda review meeting. That's optional for them. And they can talk about items that will be on the agenda for next Monday, which is when they have their voting meeting. No guarantee they'll talk about any of them, but they can certainly do that. Preliminary agenda doesn't look like there are too many earth-shattering things on there, but you never know. Then at 5 o'clock on Monday, they will be voting on various zoning matters, including one appeal from a planning commission decision that kind of split the planning commission. That'll be interesting to watch. See how that develops. City Council meets on Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the main assembly room. As we said, the two biggest items on the agenda will be the Muse moving into the Jacob building and Emerald Youth Foundation buying the old Chilhowie Park Midway. That will be on there. There are a couple other meetings will be going on. We'll detail all of those on Monday at our website, which again was CompassKnox.com. So that'll be about it for the week. Thanks again. Thanks for coming back, Jesse.
Yeah, and it's nice to circle back around, spend a little time talking about Knoxville news and events. You know, the regional and national picture sometimes can feel a little overwhelming. It's kind of nice to focus a little bit on more manageable ideas.
Yeah, well, and plus, you still live here. So you still live here, and you better be voting in the city election because you live inside the city.
Actually, I live in the 5th district. We don't even have a primary this year.
That's true. That's true. You do. You live on the west side of Broadway.
I will get to vote in November on the sales tax increase. I think that's the only thing I get to vote for this year.
Well, that's one thing that's kind of interesting. Apparently, that's one of the issues that has generated a lot of interest in the city, and it's not on the ballot in the primary. And one of the things I was wondering, and I was kind of looking at, was like, well, are people going to be going to the polls in anticipation of voting for or against the sales tax referendum? And I believe the answer is a resounding no. They know it's not going because they're not showing up. So anyway, but thanks again for coming back. Look forward to you coming back as often as you can, and staying grounded in stuff going on here in Knoxville. Thanks again, Seth, for your intrepid work behind the scenes here. Thanks to Will Wright for the music that he has provided for us, and we'll see you next week on Compass Points.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.